Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for the bi-weekly webinar series. Today, we are going to focus on Lightspeed, or Lightspeed 101. This webinar will focus on the top level and the navigation of our portal, Lightspeed. We'll talk about how to manage your projects, how to create leads, how to go through your project tabs, create advanced filters, and then we'll wrap up by talking about the Sales Resource Center, the available resources in Lightspeed, and how to interact with the adder sheet. And then, like all of our webinars, we will have a Q&A session. So let's get moving. My name is Mark Lennox. I am the Product Education Manager at Freedom Forever and the host of the webinar series. This webinar, like all of our webinars, will be uploaded and distributed afterwards, and we will add it to our new video library in Lightspeed, which we'll talk about near the end of this presentation. Let's talk about the agenda. So again, we are going to start by doing the basic navigation of Lightspeed, going over where certain key points are in our portal. Then we will move on to the leads, project, and ticket dashboards. We'll spend a good chunk of time interacting with your projects. Then we'll go over the sales resources that are available, talk about the support options, where you find those support numbers, and how to change your user preferences. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. So a lot of this is going to be live demo inside of Lightspeed. So let's get to our first point, which is navigating Lightspeed. How do we go about interacting with our portal, and where do we start, and what's our default page? Okay, so let's talk about navigating Lightspeed for a moment. When you log in to portal.freedomforever.com, the default landing page is your project's dashboard. Here, you're going to see any projects that are either submitted, unsubmitted, or canceled. You'll see your project name, what stage it's at, which modules, the system size, primary finance company, which branch, and utility. Now, you can drag and drop and reorder these to whichever preference you have. If there are certain tabs in your project's dashboard that you don't want to see, for instance, if I don't want to see the branch, I can click the three dots and hide that. So you can hide and unhide columns as you see fit. At the top of the page, there are some preset widgets for scope of work pending approval, in support pending action, smart home installed. And then on the right, I have two filters that I've saved for cash projects and for Vivint Smart Home. So in order to get these widgets to appear for you, if you want to create your own custom widgets, you can create an advanced filter. So here in the center of the page, I have advanced filters, and I'm going to choose filter type. There's a bunch of different filter types, so you can really customize your home screen to have it look exactly how you want. So let's say I'm going to choose submitted on, and we will do submitted on this month and apply that filter. If that's a filter that I want to keep, I can click the Save Filter button and choose projects this month. And I will save that filter. So now I can use that advanced filter whenever I want. If I want to just choose the filter to open it, I'll click Open Save Filter and select that filter. And that will show that here, that filter is currently open. And I can exit that out by closing that filter. So how do I create a widget on the top of the page where it keeps that there permanently? So if I go to Open Save Filter again and press the star button on the left-hand side for that filter that I just created, that's going to create a widget on my home screen that will be permanently there. You can create as many of these as you want and star and unstar as many as you want. So that's kind of a basic overview of the advanced filters on the projects page. We will come back to this page later in this presentation so when we open up projects and work through the project tabs. But as it stands, this is a good starting point for this project's dashboard, with it being that default landing page. So you can, we just created a filter for projects this month. You can also search for your projects here by typing in some basic details about your project, and the dashboard will filter them out. Or you can also just choose dates in the start and end date as well. So those are a couple of ways where you can narrow down the focus of your project. We also talked briefly about advanced filters. We will have a separate webinar for advanced filters and ticketing coming down the pipeline soon, where we'll do a deeper dive into both of those topics. So that's a pretty common overview of how those work. Okay, so now that we've shown you a quick overview of the project's dashboard, let's take a look at the navigation bar on the left-hand side. You scroll your mouse over to the left, you will see the different options within Lightspeed for navigation. You have the leads dashboard, you have the manual project generator, you have a quick link back to the project's dashboard, your default landing page. You can click on the tickets tab to open up the tickets menu. And then there's the sales resource center, the install map, and then the two leaderboards, sales leaderboard and appointment leaderboard. There's the storage guide for reference, the sales lookup tool, and the video library. We're going to go over each one of these throughout this presentation, but next up, we're going to go to the leads dashboard, since that's where a lot of you will spend a lot of time generating leads and building your proposals from the leads screen. So let's go there now. So I'll click leads. And this is going to open up your leads dashboard. Your leads dashboard is where any leads that you self-generate will appear by clicking the Add Lead button. It will save your leads. And then if any Freedom preset appointments are assigned to you, they will show up on this screen as well. When the leads dashboard appears, you can use the search bar or any of the filters above to drill down and filter out your data. So if you want to search for a specific lead by name, you can do that here. You can change by status if it's a proposal presented or sold or follow-up set. You can check the box to filter those. And then you have the option to do a custom date range or look at your appointments from yesterday, today, tomorrow. And then again, the lead source is this one that was Freedom generated or a self-generated, dealer-generated lead that you created yourself. So those are a few more options of what's given to you on the dashboard, but there's also the option to click View Filters, and you can add a bunch of custom filters to your leads dashboard as well. Like what kind of appointment type was it, a specific date range, the lead source, it was part of a specific campaign. So again, just like your project's dashboard, Lightspeed offers you the capability to really customize your leads dashboard as well. So if you want to customize this to make it exactly how you want it, you can do that using the filters above. So let's go ahead and click the Add Lead button, and we'll go over some of the basics of adding a lead to Lightspeed. When you open up the Add Lead function, there are two pieces of required information in order to save that lead. And that is the full name of the lead itself and the install address for that lead. So with those two pieces of information, you can create the lead. But in order to generate an Aurora or Sunrun proposal, you will need to go to Add More Lead Details and make sure that you enter the email address and phone number as well. With those four pieces of data, you can create a proposal. But if you just want to add a quick lead, like someone's name and address, you can do that. Those are the only two starred or required pieces of data to create that lead. From this leads dashboard, the additional leads details can also give you the option to choose language. If you know the credit score, choose who's on title, the utility bill company, and if you have someone setting for you, which setter within your dealership was the one who got that lead for you. You can also add energy usage. So you can either put in the monthly kilowatt hours if you've secured the customer's bill, or if they have the monthly dollar amounts for their bill, you can add those here. When you put the kilowatt hours in for energy usage, it will transfer over to an Aurora proposal. If you do a Sunrun proposal, you will have to enter that data manually into their splat function. And That's a completely separate training, but you should definitely watch our webinar on all things Sunrun and Aurora if you want to learn more. If you have a preset appointment or you've secured an appointment, you can click Add Appointment and choose the sales rep, the appointment type, what date that is, and what time the appointment is, and add any additional notes. So I'm going to go ahead and put in an email address here. All right, so once I have that information, you'll see a satellite view pop up with a red pin. Always make sure that you drag and drop this pin to the appropriate location when generating a lead, so that when you're building a proposal, that the proposal tools they know that they're on the correct address. So if you have that pin done in the correct spot, you have the name, address, email address, and phone number, you can create that lead. Once that lead is created, you're going to see a street view and the lead details and energy usage. If you had added an appointment, that would show up here. And then here's where you would generate proposal for whichever platform you intend to use in your appointment. If you had created a project, it would show up down here. On the same leads dashboard, once I've opened up the lead, I can either edit those lead details, which will bring me back to the screen that I was just at, or I can delete that lead and start from scratch. I want to direct your attention to the Aurora Proposals and Sunrun Proposals tab within Leads. We have previously recorded webinars in our video library for all things Aurora and all things Sunrun, as well as a companion series that gives you a more step-by-step of the Aurora process, and a companion series coming out soon for the Sunrun process. If neither of those videos work for you, reach out to producteducation@freedomforever.com, and we'll schedule some either one-on-one or small group trainings to make sure that you are fully acclimated to the Aurora and Sunrun process. Okay, we're going to leave the leads dashboard and go to the tickets dashboard. The tickets dashboard is where you will see all of your tickets and whether or not those tickets are sales related or ops related. So much like the projects dashboard, there is advanced filters where you can filter down and drill down to customize this page to your liking, create date ranges, or search for date ranges or projects on the upper left-hand side of the tickets dashboard. On the bottom right-hand side of the tickets dashboard, you can also press the new ticket button and create a ticket for a project. But you have to select a project before you can create a ticket for it. So from this screen, you can also interact with your tickets. So for this, I have a ticket for proof of ownership from a title check. When I open up that ticket, I can do the resolution options like provide proof of ownership or click other, add attachments, and then make sure I click mark as resolved. From the tickets dashboard, if I want to go directly to the project in question, I can click the project button and it will open that project in a different window for me. So I'll close this ticket out. So familiarize yourself with this tickets dashboard, create some advanced filters to customize it, and be sure to interact with your tickets and make sure that they're resolved. Next up, we are going to go back to the projects dashboard, and we're going to do an extensive dive into interacting with a project and what each tab in that project means. So let's talk about some best practices now for interacting with a project once it's been submitted. So I'm going to open up this project here, and it will open up in a different tab for me, and open up the project window. When you open up your project window, again, for training purposes, this is going to be a canceled project, but we'll still be able to interact with the different tabs. The snapshot view is going to show you any open tickets, any documents that have been signed, and a quick jumping point over to the scope of work. By clicking here, it will take me over to the scope of work tab. By clicking here, it will take me to the tickets tab. You have your basic project information, customer name, address, phone number, and different points of contact. So your snapshot is the first thing you'll see when you open up a project. On the upper right-hand side, we have the Take Action button, where we can generate a doc. Also, here's another place where you can create a ticket. And in the event that you haven't scheduled a site survey yet or haven't fully submitted the project, you can click Schedule Site Survey from this Take Action button. We do have a training video for that in the library, so look that up if you want to see that feature in action. Okay, We're going to save this pipeline feature for one of the last things we talk about because it's pretty extensive. So from snapshot, I'm going to jump over to project details. Here's where you get a larger view of everything about that project, including the ID, when it was created, the address, installed branch, etc., including the homeowner's information, preferred contact mode. So this is more of a deeper view of what the project details are instead of the basic information that you get from the snapshot. So if you need to know like your financial details, what the project was, here's a good place to start, whether or not they opted in or opted out of the smart home package, and what county and what links it is for the AHJ. On the right-hand side of any project window, you're going to see your notes and tickets. So you can show project notes, ticket notes, communications, reviews, and events. So a way to filter out some of the communication on the right-hand side. Also, you'll see the system size and system price here as well. Any open sales tickets will have a large red button waiting for you. So we've talked about the snapshot. We've gone over project details. Now let's talk about the scope of work tab. When you open up the scope of work tab, it's going to show you the system specifications, which modules and inverters were chosen in that project, and whether or not you had battery, and what the sold production was. Again, this product is canceled out, so these don't have any values, but check your projects that you've submitted to see the values for these different adders if you selected them in the project generation phase. We have the gross price, the sunrun cost, and the gross PPW and the net PPW. Because this is the sold scope of work, we don't have the additional versions of that scope of work. But I can show you an example in a few moments when we talk about the pipeline, about the different versions of the scope of work. And again, I know we keep plugging our information here, but we've done a lot of webinars about these topics. So we're going to try to keep this webinar very top level, but we do have a scope of work specific webinar in our video library. And your video library is located on the sidebar at the very bottom here. So open up that video library when you get a chance. If you want to learn more about the scope of work process in detail, open up that scope of work webinar and take a look. Okay, so from the scope of work tab, we're going to move over to the tickets button. Tickets are going to show any project-related tickets that are either sales action needed or ops action needed. If it's sales action needed, it's up to the rep to resolve that ticket. So by clicking on that ticket, you'll open up the ticket itself. This is the same ticket that we saw on the tickets dashboard, where we can provide a resolution option or click other, add attachments, and once you click an option, to mark that as complete. That's a huge step in the process to click mark complete. That sends it back to ops, and it will determine if that ticket's been satisfied or close that ticket out. But they won't be able to do that if, as the rep, we don't mark that ticket as complete. So I'll close this ticket out. We'll also see ops tickets here. It's gone to their side of the street, and any tickets that have been resolved will be on this tickets dashboard. This is also another location where you can create a ticket. Clicking create ticket here will show you the different options and reasons for tickets, like document request, change order help, request information, revision. So scroll through these options and determine the best one for your project. Whenever you create a ticket, you give a quick summary and then a description. And then if you have any attachments, you can add those attachments to the ticket here. So once you've filled out all the required information, like the reason, the summary, and the description, you can scroll down and click create ticket, and that will send that ticket to ops. Okay, we're going to progress down the line to the different objects in the project's dashboard, and I'll go to change orders and revisions. On this tab, it'll show any change orders that were created, approved, or denied for the project. On the Files tab, you're going to see any files related to that project, like the proposal, the NEM agreement, the agreement itself, any rebate information, site audit printouts. So if you need to locate a document, they will be located on the Files tab. Clicking on any of these files should open that file up for you. Make sure that your pop-up blockers are turned off so that when you click any of those, it actually opens it up in a separate window. And from this page, you do have the ability to generate a document like a W-9 if there's a rebate involved. or you can click Upload File and browse and add files directly to the project from this screen as well. This is drag and drop or browse files. So that is how you add files to your project. The tasks menu is typically here when you're going through the process of submission. You need to make sure that all of the checkboxes for your tasks are completed before the submit project button will appear. So in the event that you are in the process of trying to submit a project and you can't get that submit project button to appear, head over to the tasks tab and see which remaining tasks don't have a check mark next to it, so you know which tasks need to be completed either by the rep or the homeowner before you can submit that project. Okay, so now we're going to spend some time talking about the pipeline. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Pivoted over to a different project to give you an example of what the pipeline tab looks like, how you interact with it, what information you can grab from it, and how to best read where your project is at in this pipeline tab. So when you open up the pipeline tab, this is a project that's currently in install review. So you'll see all of the completed phases of this project. Any one of these tabs within the pipeline, you can collapse and read additional information. For instance, this site survey took place on the 31st of January at 11:30, and it will tell you which agent completed that site survey and did the max fit. And as you scroll down through the pipeline, when you see the completed tasks, it will generally stop at the to-do list for its current stage. And everything below that will say blocked. It's best not to look at blocked like some sort of red flag. That's just the terminology used for the current progression of the project itself. So we know that this project has already cleared permits, scope of work has been confirmed. Now we're at install review. So if you click on installs, you'll see the information regarding the install and what's taking place on the back end as this project moves towards installation. So that's the current stage, and everything that is below it are the current tasks that have yet to be complete. Now, there is an alternative view inside the pipeline screen that gives you a better idea of the process. It's like a process map or the task map on the upper right-hand side. So anytime you visit your project and you're in the pipeline, if you want to see the task map, click Open Task Map, and that's going to give you a more mapped out view of how the project progresses through from project submitted and site survey all the way to install. So you can see this project has already cleared plans, scope of work confirmed is done. And then we are at the pre-install proof approval, which is approved. And now the current stage of the project has been complete, and we're waiting for the install review to be complete, and then we'll schedule installation. So once that step is complete, these boxes will turn green and it will progress towards completing the installation. And then as you can see, this process map as you progress through all the way to inspection, PTO submission, PTO approval, activation, and then the final complete step. Go through the pipeline tab and go through the steps and see which information you can read about your project if you're looking for more information about where the process currently is, which step or stage the project is at, or what could be blocking that project from moving forward. Arming yourself with that information prior to submitting a ticket or reaching out to customer support can definitely speed up the process and get you more informed prior to reaching out to customer care. So we'll go ahead and close that task map out, and we're going to return to the projects page. Okay, the next step in the process of Lightspeed 101 is to talk about the available resources that you have in Lightspeed to support you and the sales process. So the first thing we're going to look at on the sidebar is the sales lookup tool. Now I'm going to enter my zip code in here. The sales lookup tool, again, this is a tool that you use to find information within your install territory. So I'm going to put my zip code in Florida, and I am in Parrish. And we'll talk about Florida Power and Light. So use this tool to get some information about the utilities in your region where you're installing. Like, is it a tier 1, 2, or 3, like for distance adders? Which branch typically installs for that zip code? Is it smart home eligible? And what other information you can get about the utility bill and its requirements? So if I change this from Florida Power and Light to Duke Energy, you'll see that the information changes. And then there are a couple of cooperatives in the area. So you can see what requirements are required for each utility based on the zip code. So do yourself a favor and go into the sales lookup tool and put a couple of zip codes in and just see some of the requirements for the different utilities in that area. The other tool that we're going to look at right now on the sidebar is the storage guide. This is a tool that's available to you. It's not 100% accurate in terms of like, how much or how many circuits are necessary when you're doing a battery system, but this is a guide for you and the homeowner if a homeowner is interested in batteries for what they intend to back up with those batteries. So we're going to automatically, everything in the outlets column is selected. Say the homeowner wants to do their microwave, refrigerator, and the garage door opener. We're still only at one battery. But if they were going to add like the electric dryer or, a window AC unit, that's going to require multiple batteries. So you can use this storage guide, how many batteries they need to cover different appliances and outlets in the home. So I know I've talked about it quite a bit during this webinar, but I do want to direct your attention to the video library. So you'll see two different sets of videos pop up in the video library. Our product education webinar series, which this video will be added to after the Q&A portion. We will export and upload this to our product education webinar series, and our Aurora companion series to the step-by-step process of going through Aurora. And again, just as a reminder, we'll have a companion series coming out for the Sunrun process as well. Okay, back at the project's dashboard, we're going to go over to the Sales Resource Center. The Sales Resource Center is where you'll find the adder sheet, channels of communication, document library, our finance and payment options. So there's a lot of great information in the Sales Resource Center that you can sift through. The one that we're primarily going to talk about is the adder sheet. The adder sheet does get updated. And when you open up the adder sheet folder, you'll see when the adder sheet was last updated, which was the 28th of January. And you click the adder sheet, and this will show you what the current costs for the different adders in Freedom Forever are at the moment. So at the time of this webinar, this is the current adder sheet. And look out for emails that come out with Freedom News, or when the new adder sheet comes out, you'll be notified that there is a new adder sheet. And anytime the adder sheet changes, the changes are marked with yellow lines. So you can direct your attention directly to the locations on the adder sheet for the new information. So familiarize yourself with the adder sheet, and that's where it's located within the Sales Resource Center. Also within the Sales Resource Center, you can get finance and payment options if you want to learn more about what the current rate card is for Mosaic, how the cash process works, and tips for removing locks and freezes on credit. There are market guides in the Sales Resource Center, Lightspeed portal help guides, and as we update these documents, there'll be major improvements coming down the pipeline for the Sales Resource Center to get many of the things that we have up to date. You'll also see education and webinars in there, which are included also in the video library. So that is the Sales Resource Center and many of the tools and features available to you as a sales rep. So again, a lot of this is a top-level overview of Lightspeed, and it's going to be important for you to jump in and kind of play with this stuff yourself. And any questions you may have, forward them over to us at producteducation@freedomforever.com. So as we start to move towards the end of this presentation, I want to direct your attention to a couple of things in Lightspeed that will help you get support. The first is the question mark tab next to your account on the upper right-hand side. So when you click that question mark, it's going to give you a variety of phone numbers for help if you're in need of immediate assistance. So use the question mark tool at the top to get number for Mosaic support, Aurora, Vivint, the Sunrun Help Desk, customer support. All that information is located at the top near your username. Additionally, if you need Sales Concierge support, on the bottom left-hand side of Lightspeed is the live chat. So when you click this bubble, it's going to open up the Freedom Forever Sales Concierge. It'll say, "Hi there, how can I help you?" Make sure that you enter your full name. And then any requests you have or any updates or any help that you need from Sales Concierge, you can get help right from the live chat screen. This is also where you will go if you need live SOW support or help with anything scope of work related that you need live help with. You can schedule a callback using the Freedom Forever Sales Concierge tool of the live chat feature in Lightspeed. Okay, that wraps up the presentation portion of this webinar. So now we're going to switch over to the Q&A. And about halfway through this webinar, a Q&A should have popped up and you've been able to submit questions. We have Brian Malott and Rob Angel on with us, as well as some other guest speakers. to answer any questions that you may have about Lightspeed. So let's get to that now. Okay, so we are at the Q&A portion of the webinar. And again, just to double reiterate, if you scroll down a little bit, you should be able to see the option to submit questions, or anything about the webinar itself that you wanted to comment on or get some clarity on. Add that to the Q&A, and we are going to start by doing our first question. And let's go ahead and approve that. So the first question is sort of a request, but would it be possible to add Sunrun eligible utilities to the sales lookup tool? So I'm going to kick that over to Brian Malott.
Hey guys, thanks for everyone for attending today's webinar. Yes, that's a great request. The sales lookup tool pulls directly from our utility database. And since Sunrun eligibility is based on the utility, that's something that we should be able to add. I think it's a great request, and I'll circle up with our dev team and try to get that added on there for you guys.
Appreciate that, Brian. Our next question is also anonymous, and it is, where can I locate the dealer fees for projects? So that's actually in one of the, I'll go ahead and grab that one. That's one of the folders in the Sales Resource Center. If you go to the Sales Resource Center and open up finance and payment options, one of the folders within that is Mosaic. And when you open Mosaic, you'll see the most updated Mosaic rate card, which will show the products that are currently there and which dealer fees are associated with those products. So that's where I would go into the Sales Resource Center to check out essentially what the current rate card is. And that, kind of like the adder sheet, can be updated. So that specific item in the Sales Resource Center will have a date on it. So make sure that you see the most recent one that's dated, and you'll be able to find out what the dealer fees are from there. All right, next question. This one's also, I believe, going to be for Brian. It is, are there sample agreements we can send to customers to review beforehand?
It's a great question. That's one I get quite a bit. And we don't have a folder within the Sales Resource Center that has a list of like sample agreements. But what you can do is in Lightspeed, you can go in and create a project on your own. You can create like a test project, generate that agreement. And then when you get to the signing documents section, when you're in DocuSign, you can actually take that agreement and save it. So like save it as a PDF, and then you can have your own specific contract that you can send out to customers if they want to see it beforehand. It's good to note that there are different, like the dealer agreement is different per state. So you'll want to make sure that you're creating a test sample agreement in the actual state for which you are selling it. And then same thing for Mosaic. If you go in and if you like run your own sample credit check in Mosaic and you generate documents there, you can save like a sample as well and do the same thing there.
All right, thanks, Brian. Our next question is from Rosie, and it is, how do I add notes to a lead? So when you're in the leads dashboard and you open up the lead, you either have the option to scroll down to the bottom of that lead and add notes. You may have to click the edit button. And if you are using Volt, there's an option to add notes in there as well. Volt is another webinar that you can peruse through our video library. And that's a good place to add notes as well if you're using the Volt app. Next question is, we are going to do a question about the Sunrun verification call. And let me just bring that up on screen. This one's going to be for Brett. On Sunrun deals, are verification calls required prior to submitting?
Hey team, so the verification call, although it's not required prior to submitting your project, would definitely recommend trying to complete that as early as possible during point of sale, just to avoid any of those tickets or any potential delays. As most of you are probably aware, we're unable to send the project any further beyond site survey without that verification call being completed with Sunrun. So short answer is no, but would definitely recommend completing it as early as possible.
Thank you, Brett. Hide that from the screen. All right, so our next question is about the video library, and that is, bring it up on screen. Inside the video library, are the videos in order, i.e. are recommended to watch in a certain order? So the video library is a brand new feature that we've recently added to Lightspeed. So that's a good request. So we can probably change the naming convention so they're in order. When this webinar is added to the video library, we're probably going to suggest that this be the one that we start with first. And then it would be more of a personal preference on the two series for, Aurora and then Sunrun. So those are the three big hitters. Are you familiar with using Lightspeed on the top level, and then the Aurora process and the Sunrun process? And then it's more of a choose your own adventure for where you want to go with the remainder of the webinars, like scope of work or we did a separate webinar about the process of working with sales concierge. So some of the questions we're getting asked in the chat right now regard the sales concierge process, and many of those questions can be answered by watching that webinar or by emailing us at producteducation@freedomforever.com. So using their resources and then jumping into the video library, I would say the three that you should watch are this one when it's uploaded, the Aurora and Sunrun, and then picking which ones you want after that. Okay, let's grab another question. And we're going to do another question about Sunrun. Bear with us when we get this one on screen. The question is, does Sunrun proposals always designed by Sunrun designers? If so, how long does it take for them to get complete? I'm going to shoot that over to Brian.
Hey there. So Sunrun proposals, if you guys are going through Splat, Splat will have some preset designs for you that are done by the Sunrun designers. The timing that it takes for those to be completed really depends on what kind of volume that they're have at the current time. So sometimes they can come through very, very quickly. Other times it'll be peak times and can be extended. So it's not really consistent on how fast they get that design to you. Now you do have the option to go into Sunrun's partner portal, which is like the sister portal of Splat. And in Partner Portal, they have a design tool called BrightPath, where you can go in and design your system in BrightPath. You can choose the movement points, set the panels, move the panels. And so that would be where you can take control of the designing yourself without relying on the Sunrun team to have those preset designs for you.
And just to add to that real quick, just to give some sense of time, I think, general estimated time that you can expect in non-peak times is probably about 10 or 15 minutes. If it gets extended, typically you'll see it drag maybe into 20, 30 minutes, but personally, I've never seen it go much longer than that. So you'll have a counter as well in Splat. Typically, it'll tell you kind of what position you're in, and you'll have a sense of how kind of far away it might be if you're in the home. So sometimes between, I would say, 10 and 30 minutes is usually typical for that frame.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm going to have this, Rob, you're going to be up for this next question, and that is, how can I get notified when the adder sheet and the rate card are updated?
Yeah, so we typically do send out emails when the adder sheet is updated. Definitely when the rate card gets updated. Those don't happen quite as often. I know we have had a couple of updates in the past few months, but not every adder change gets communicated. Sometimes we just send it to the dealer owners and kind of let them filter communication, but that's only if it's a small change. More often than not, if it is some like a module, like a base module change or an adder change related to modules, or even most of the other adders in there, we do typically send out emails about those. So make sure you're on top of your emails, check your spam. Typically it's going to come from either Chad Towner, our CRO, or sometimes sales concierge. But make sure to check your spam folder. We do typically communicate those as well as the Mosaic Break product updates.
Thanks, Rob. I'm going to have this next question for Brett, and it is, if I need to get on a call with a project coordinator due to a problem not being solved via ticketing, how is that done?
Yeah, happy to answer. So although, we intentionally keep our project coordinators focused on work and they aren't necessarily open for inbound calls, we do have our sales concierge team. We kind of filter all contact through that team. That team, whether it be the person on the phone or, quickly escalating to their supervisor, they should be able to answer any, questions that you have or any, concerns you might have with a ticket not resolving that problem. And ultimately, that team will also communicate with the project coordinator and make sure that, we do get that ticket closed out if there was a mistake made.
Thanks, Brett. So we are going to, this is a PPA question, and this is somewhat of a common sales question, but can you transfer ownership of a PPA when a home is sold? Who wants that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yes, you can transfer ownership of a PPA when the home is sold. It's also a good chance for us to plug the new training resource that Sunrun recently released. So Sunrun, if you guys search your emails, you will have received an email from Sunrun about their new tiled app. And in that tiled app, they have a full section of Q&A, and they answer that question specifically. But yes, PPAs are, are transferable to a new home buyer in the event of a home sale.
Thank you, Brian.
One thing to add there is, I found the Sunrun agreement to be very homeowner friendly over the years, and it's a lot of terms are very clearly stated in the agreement. Always a best practice, if you have a question about how something works, take a read through it. There's no better, that's the source, right? And so that's that's the best place to get the information. If you have those sorts of contractual questions, take some time, read through it. Always best to, direct a homeowner directly to the agreement that they're signing to get the answers that they need.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is from Brian about this series. These education webinars we'll be able to locate the video afterwards and all the ones previous. So anytime we complete one of these webinars, we typically will send an email out later in the day that is, hey, did you miss the webinar? Here is a link to the recording. And then we will always add them to our video library now inside of Lightspeed. So sometime later today, you should be able to, today or tomorrow, go into the video library, and under the product education series, there will be a drop down and you can pick whichever webinar you want to watch. And this Lightspeed 101 will be added shortly. Thank you for your question. Next question is for Brian, and that is, who installs Sunrun projects, Freedom or Sunrun?
It's a good question. For Sunrun projects, and so that would be Sunrun as a finance partner. As long as it's run through our portal, Freedom Forever will be the ones installing that system. So we will go out, we will do the site survey, we will do all of the engineering, we will do the installation. You'll see Freedom trucks roll out to the site, and then we'll be the ones on the roof installing the system. In that case, the Sunrun aspect of the project is just the finance partner. You're having a Sunrun power purchase agreement or lease, depending on the state that you're in, but Freedom Forever will be installing that system.
Thanks, Brian. All right, so we still waiting on a couple more questions. If you have any questions, please drop them into the Q&A now. If there's something you don't want to ask in a public forum, again, we do have that email address, producteducation@freedomforever.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us directly. So we'll wait a couple more seconds to see if there's any other questions we haven't addressed. If your question wasn't addressed, we encourage you to also use that email address, because some questions are probably better answered one-on-one for like specific project details if you have questions about that. So we'll just wait a few more minutes, and then if there's anything you guys wanted to add, maybe something for our guest speakers. We do have a question. Man, this one, if I can't answer this question, this is a layup for me as the trainer. So I'm gonna put this one on screen. I'm new, so what is the best way to get comfortable with our programs? Well, that would be a good opportunity to shoot me an email at our email address. Take advantage of our library, the video library for all things Aurora, all things Sunrun. Consume as much product education as possible, and then send your specific questions in. Obviously, what we want is everyone to feel comfortable. And as the product education manager, we do have a lot of moving parts, a lot of programs, but it is consumable in small chunks, and we're always here to answer your questions. So never hesitate to send a question our way. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you joining us for Lightspeed 101, and we will be sending out an email recap of this shortly. Thank you for being here, and keep an eye out for future webinars as we have some coming up at the end of this month and into March.